It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
Yeah, it is a bit loud. We are live, though.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor of Fightful.com, FightfulWrestling.com, FightfulSelect.com. Right before this show, I did a Q&A podcast over at Fightful Select. I will be doing a UFC rankings breakdown. Also, we have some new show ideas. We're doing the Fightful Weekender podcast this weekend. I'm filming another retro review, Great American Bash, 1996. A very unique time in pro wrestling. It is between when Hall and Nash debuted and when the NWO formed. Like I said, a very unique time in WCW and wrestling in general. And we are in a very unique time in wrestling in general because Jimmy Van is moving.
Moved.
Past
tense.
Only for 5 years. You were given $1 billion to move, I understand.
It's insanity. And we're gonna get to it, and it's insanity. But I want to start off by saying, Sean, happily, that my cat did not piss on any furniture, my friend.
It's the little things in life.
It is. I was really concerned, you know. I bought new furniture for a new house. I had a cat in the past whose name was Cat. And the cat in the past, whenever she was stressed out, she would piss all over my furniture. And, dude, you know this. Cat urine?
Oh, yeah.
It might be the most potent smell of all time. And as a matter of fact, if there was ever... Nigel's nodding because he agrees.
So is Melissa.
And so is Melissa. If there is ever another World War, Sean, whatever country figures out how to put cat urine into a chemical bomb, they're going to win.
Oh yeah, we have a steam cleaner for that purpose.
Oh, it's brutal. Matter of fact, my IT guy was telling me on the weekend that they had a brand new leather sofa and they threw it out because their cat pissed on it. It's a potent, powerful, deadly.
Deals over here, we don't allow cats in this office for that reason.
Right.
You never know what'll happen.
So I was very nervous because some of the areas of my house they're not in rooms with doors, they're open concept. So you have no choice, and I put tinfoil on the top. You ever heard that story? You put tinfoil on it, right? Melissa, again, is nodding. See, she's with it. So I did the tinfoil thing, and I haven't even seen a crinkle on the tinfoil, Melissa. So that tells me that he hasn't even made an attempt, Sean.
So do you sit on the tinfoil?
So far, no one has, Sean. This is furniture not being used currently because of tinfoil.
It's like my grandparents used to put plastic on all their furniture.
Yes.
This new generation with their tinfoil.
With the tinfoil, yeah. But no, we're 5 days in, and as far as I know, there's been no accidents, so that's a positive.
Are you completely moved in yet?
That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
Am I living there? Yes. Are we unpacked? Yeah. No.
I mean, I've been living here for 7 years, and am I unpacked? Not really. So
that's concerning.
Yeah.
But I don't believe it's going to take me 7 years to unpack, Sean.
It might.
It's still been a pain in the ass. I want to start today by talking about Owen Hart.
Yeah?
And I want to throw this to Nigel and Melissa. So I got to tell you, I ran into Melissa this morning at Tim Hortons, and we're going to be talking about Tim Hortons during the Stupid People segment, Sean. But
okay. Yeah, we are. Jesus.
No. Separate. Hey, you know I'm a Tim's fan. Look I got my coffee. I'm a Tim's fan. But I ran into Melissa there. She bought me my breakfast sandwich this morning. And I said to Melissa, are you producing with Nigel today? And she said, yes. And I said, your mic better work because I'm going to be throwing stuff to you on purpose just to see how you respond. So
Follow her on Twitter at IRL_tweener. Perhaps my favorite thing about Fightful is her learning wrestling terminology from scratch.
There you go.
It's been a wild ride.
My first question is, Melissa, do you know who Owen Hart is?
Yes, sort of.
Okay, what do you know?
I know what he looks like, and I know he's a wrestler. That's about it.
Okay, I think we might be on a different page.
Well, let me ask you. Yeah. Is he a nugget?
I have no idea.
He's not a nugget.
You guys are laughing. You don't even know why. That's a Jeff Jarrett reference from a while ago. So, do you know what happened to Owen Hart?
No.
Okay, so you might be thinking of Bret Hart potentially. So Owen Hart, today's May 23rd, 19 years ago today. Owen Hart fell to his death at the Over the Edge pay-per-view during an elaborate entrance where he was the Blue Blazer. He was supposed to come from the ceiling.
Was he on a fence wall
thing? It was a walkout.
Oh, okay.
And he was supposed to be lowered on cables into the ring, and there was a malfunction, and he fell 50 feet to his death. And ironically enough, today's the 19th anniversary, so I wanted to bring up Owen Hart. Sean, do you remember where you were when that happened?
No, because I didn't have a lot of pay-per-view capability then, but I heard about it the following morning at school, actually. A lot of my friends told me about what happened, and I was like, wow, that's a shitty angle. Why would they do that? You know, I was a child.
Yep.
I was like 13, and
Yep.
I just couldn't believe it. He
Yeah,
was the ultimate guy I love to hate.
He was. You're not going to find one person that's going to shit on Owen Hart. Even 19 years later, everybody loved him. He was the king of the ribs. For Nigel and Melissa, rib means a joke, and he played them on the wrestlers all the time. The classic one is the Stu Hart one, where he called Stu Hart pretending to be Reg Parks. Have you heard this one, Sean?
Yeah.
Pretending to be Reg Parks, who was an old wrestler, and Stu Hart, that was Owen's dad, got so pissed off that he was standing up in the room going, "If you wanted to try me, why didn't you try me?" And he was ready to go to the hotel lobby to fight Reg Parks, and it was Owen Hart the whole time.
Stu Hart with one of the great voices of all time.
That's true.
If you wanted to test me, why fucking you test me?
I was watching Over the Edge live when that happened, and I always thought, just like you did, why they even bothered to do a stunt like that. I know that he did that during the day. He practiced it during the day, and it worked okay. But he also didn't want to do it. I know Bret Hart has always said, if I had been there, I would have told him not to do it. So it was one of those sad things that happened. But he's one of the all-time greats, I think, loved by everybody. I want to make on a side note, his widow, Martha, created the Owen Hart Foundation 19 years ago after he passed. They raise money for education, affordable housing, and foreign aid. They do an annual fundraiser in Calgary every year. And this year it's going to be on November 30th featuring Alec Baldwin. They do a lot of celebrity tie-in. It's going to be on November 30th, and tickets for that go on sale tomorrow, May 24th, through Ticketmaster. So if you live in Calgary or if you just really want to be there, tickets go on sale tomorrow, and it's on November 30th. So
really thought Owen Hart was world champion quality. I thought that he was just like I said, the ultimate guy you love to hate. I don't know if anybody has done it quite as well as him since.
I mean, behind the scenes, he was the best. Am I too loud, Nigel? No. Okay. Behind the scenes, he was the best at making others around him happy. I've heard a lot of stories about, the old school trick, Sean, where the heel would have a foreign object under their pit, and they would use the foreign object, and then they would stuff it in their armpit, and they would go to the referee like this. Yeah. And the referee would be like, well, I don't see anything. So apparently Owen Hart did that with a Kleenex one time. So he hit, I think it was Edge and Christian, he hit them with the Kleenex.
Oh,
and then he put it under his pit, and he went like that, and then he raised his arms, and the Kleenex went floating down to the mat. So he would do stuff like that in order to keep guys smiling. So. Oh, yeah.
Often they would talk about how he would perform for the wrestlers in the back as opposed to the fans in the seats.
It's true. Yep. So kudos to him. I also want to mention Matt Capitelli, because I saw the post from his wife, Lindsay. So anybody not familiar, Matt Capitelli, he was the winner of Season 3 of Tough Enough with John Morrison back in the early 2000s. In 2005, he was under contract with WWE, and he was working in their developmental OVW when he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Had to retire from wrestling because of that. They were able to remove it with surgery. He was in remission for many years. Last summer, it returned, much more aggressive and inoperable. I think he was given a 5-year life sentence, essentially, at that time. Yeah. And his wife, Lindsay, just posted about a week ago on social media that apparently he's not doing very well. He can't talk. He's having trouble eating. He sleeps most of the time. So I want to give a shout-out to him because he's had a hell of a fight going back now some 15 years.
Yeah, it's kind of tragic how that has all played out for him because he had such potential, and I'm pretty sure his last match actually was an OVW championship match. He was OVW heavyweight champion and had to vacate the title because of his brain tumor. So,
right.
And we have a lot of mutual friends because of the Kentucky connection, because he essentially lived in Kentucky for a while because of that deal. So, all the best to him.
For sure. I guess we'll get into the rights fee, Sean. Now, the last week, I have been spending a lot of my time moving and stuff, and I haven't been as plugged in as I normally would be, but this rights fee stuff is insane.
More dominoes fell last night at about 1 in the morning, actually.
Are you talking about the UFC deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it all. So I want to talk about it. So last week on this podcast, we talked about the ESPN Plus deal for UFC. And about how that was going to bode well for WWE because that had nothing to do with UFC's regular rights. It was just rights for a streaming service for, 15 shows a year, Sean?
Yes.
Okay. And it was like $150 million a year, and we were talking about how this is going to bode real well for WWE on their next rights fees contract. Since that news, it was reported that UFC has now signed their rights with ESPN for their regular television rights for another $150 million. So they're going to be getting a total of $300 million a year between the two. What were they getting on their Fox deal? Was it $150?
I'd have to look, but I know that they rejected a Fox deal for $200 million, considering saying that was a lowball offer.
Right. Okay. I think they were getting around 150, so they're going to be getting 300. I know that the new owners of UFC, they had claimed that they wanted closer to 400, but I think in reality 300 is probably. I think they're happy with that. I think. Mm-hmm. Here's where things are insane, Sean. In terms of WWE, on May 16th, a guy by the name of Matthew Belloni from The Hollywood Reporter posted on Twitter. I hope I'm saying his name right. Belloni. Belloni? It's Belloni? I heard Nigel snickering, so maybe it's Belloni. But it's Belloni, Nigel.
I don't know.
Belloni?
I'm a child, so
I know you are. And Sean is stone-faced through the whole thing. That's amazing. So anyway,
I'm kind of amazed that this crafty way a sponsor made its way to the chat.
What just happened?
A website called OMG.com, which sells like cultured, I don't know what the hell they sell, popped into our super chat, and if you plug something in our chat, it's going to get deleted. But they did a super chat where they donated $2 to say, keep up the good work, and post their link.
Are you? So it's a bot. It's probably a bot.
Probably a bot.
I bet you the $2 is going to be charged back as fraud.
We'll take the $2 and you all can go check out their shitty egg curry.
We'll take it until it's charged back by YouTube. But anyway, so let's just call him Matthew from The Hollywood Reporter. He posted on May 16th that NBC Universal was planning to keep Raw, but they were expecting that the deal was going to be so big, and they were expecting 3 times the current value. And for that reason, they were going to let SmackDown go. That was on the 16th. 5 days later, on May 21st, The Hollywood Reporter reported that WWE and Fox are close to finalizing a 5-year deal worth $205 million a year, so a total of a little over $1 billion over 5 years, that would see the show move to Friday night starting in October of next year. Now, speculation is that Raw might earn the company $400 million a year by itself with NBC Universal. You add in the $200 million plus with Fox, and they're looking at a total package size of $600 million a year, twice the UFC's rights fees contract, Sean, starting in October of next year. This is lunacy. Lunacy. And I was talking to Sean earlier on Skype. 2 years ago, who could have ever seen this coming? 2 years ago, the UFC in popularity was far ahead of WWE, not only in terms of, say, pay-per-view revenue and stuff like that, but advertiser popularity, advertiser perception, network popularity and perception. They were far ahead of WWE. In those respects. Now here we are 2 years later. We know UFC has struggled. They haven't been able to make new stars. Their pay-per-view buy rates are dropping off if they don't have Conor McGregor on the card, or I guess Daniel Cormier to a lesser degree. Did you ever think that 2 years after there was such a shift in popularity, WWE would be getting double the rights fees that UFC is going to get? To me, it's insane. What do you think?
It is insane. UFC will retain their pay-per-view and their Fight Pass stuff, but
yeah, but WWE has the network.
ESPN, yes, exactly. ESPN will also probably pay them more than they would make on a lot of low-level pay-per-views.
Yes.
UFC's deal with Fox was roughly $100 million per year. This is something that we've talked about before, about the perception of wrestling fans, their quality of life, and what they will and won't pay for. And it looks like WWE put their foot down and said, we have not been getting what we bring in as it pertains to advertisers and eyeballs, and that's going to change. So, hey, good for them for doing that, because honestly, they probably should have had a bigger rights deal long ago. But there was always that perception, and we talked about it, about how like NASCAR or soccer or even other sports that don't do the numbers wrestling does get higher ad rates per person.
Yeah.
Because the perception that wrestling fans are poor and won't spend money on anything but wrestling.
Yep.
Something that David Bixenspan has brought up is the quality of ads that you see on a Raw have really, really increased since the Saturday night's main event days.
A lot of it has to do with when they decided to go PG. And they decided to go PG for that reason. And since then, we've seen them sign deals with like Mars and stuff like that, and that's the reason that they did it. When you consider that last year, WWE made $180 million all in off NBC Universal.
Everything.
And now we're just talking domestically. We're not talking UK and India and all that. But domestically, they did $180 million. They're going to do potentially $600 million on their next contract. It's lunacy. And something else that I can't help but think of, and there's a lot of layers to this, and we're going to go over all of them. Before they did their last contract, Vince McMahon did that shareholder meeting. You remember this? And Vince McMahon promised his shareholders, we're going to double our rights. And if we don't double our rights, because he was talking to a specific shareholder, if we don't double our rights, you can punch me in the stomach. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So then they negotiate the new deal. They did not double their rights. And one of the reasons that they didn't double their rights is because on that last contract, NBC Universal was not making that back in advertising money. Right? Mm-hmm. And so that's when we started looking at, okay, there are other reasons why they pay that money aside from what they get back in advertising. They pay that money because it's DVR proof, and a lot of other programming is not. They pay that money.
Push up their averages.
Yep,
does a lot of things.
USA wanted it because USA's slogan forever was we're the #1 network on cable. And you take Raw out of the equation, and I remember one time, I think Dave Meltzer did the math. You take them out, and they were like number 8 or something. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted Raw for that reason. They also wanted Raw as a lead-in so they could promote their own in-house shows and put them on after Raw.
Got me in the Burn Notice back in the day.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of other reasons. There's a lot of other reasons why they'd be paying this kind of money. On top of that, if you look at ESPN as an example, these networks make a lot of money from the cable providers. And a lot of people don't realize this. They're not providing their content on, say, Time Warner Cable for free. Time Warner Cable is paying them a rate in order to have the right to their content. And I know in the case of ESPN, when they did a bunch of layoffs in the last year that had casualties like Jonathan Coachman, the reason they did it is because of cable churn. And because people were dropping ESPN as a channel on cable, and they weren't getting as much revenue from that, and that led to them having to cut a bunch of staff from their network. This is another thing. If live content is essentially DVR proof, that means that USA is still going to be an in-demand channel. Fox is still going to be an in-demand network. And that's the reason why when people look at this and say, why the hell are they paying $600 million, which I still think is an overpay. But this is why they're doing it, because they project that as time goes on, live content is going to become more and more valuable. They want to lock it down while they can. I just think it's an incredible amount of money. I actually was looking up Fox programming because the word is that SmackDown's going to move to Friday nights when this deal kicks in, October of next year. I know, Sean, that you were talking with some guys, Jeff on post-SmackDown and stuff, about is it going to be live or taped. I think there's no question it's going to be live.
It has to be
There's
live.
no question. That's the reason why they're doing this. They're doing it because they want live content. It's going to be live. And I know people are going to say, oh, what about the logistics with the production trucks? You're getting $200 million a year.
Exactly.
They're going to make it work. You know what I mean?
What about the logistics of having 50 men in a Royal Rumble match?
Exactly.
You make shit work.
Exactly. They're going to make it work. Now, let me throw this at you, Sean. Last Friday on Fox, because I looked this up, Fox aired from 8 to 10 p.m., which will probably be SmackDown's time slot, MasterChef Jr. I know Nigel's a big fan because he's nodding and smiling. MasterChef Jr., they aired it from 8 to 10. They did 3.27 million viewers, and they did a 0.8 rating in the adult 1849 demo. And that's the demo that's important to advertisers, is the adult 1849 demo. SmackDown last week did 2.3 million viewers on USA Network and a 0.7 rating in adults 18 to 49. My question is, what is Fox hoping for or expecting out of SmackDown? Because in theory, MasterChef Jr. and SmackDown are pretty comparable in terms of what advertisers care about. There's no fucking way MasterChef Jr. is getting $200 million a year.
Well, they definitely expected to do better than MasterChef the Third, or else they would use that shit. 76,000 commercials over 5 years, roughly, is what we're going to see. So they're going to have to make up some money there. They're going to try to do a lot of cross-promotion, NFL,
right.
There's a lot of that stuff. Mike, man, there's just so many aspects. And WWE's always had this fetish for being on network TV, and they've never really been on weekly network TV until now. And the thing is,
you mean CW wasn't a real network, Sean?
Yeah, or UPN.
Oh yeah,
what
UPN.
did that even stand for?
United, I don't know.
Exactly.
Something network, programming network. I don't know.
And now being on network TV means probably less than ever.
Yeah, but Fox is still one of the big four.
They are. If they were on SmackDown on Fox weekly on Thursdays 20 years ago, boy, it would have meant a lot more. Now, it wouldn't have meant a lot more money, but it would have meant a lot more.
I agree. Yep.
I'm very interested to see how this play. I mean, because cord cutters will have the option to watch SmackDown now. If you have an antenna, you log on to like Fox Live or whatever.com. There's usually a stream.
The apps, everything. Yep.
Yeah. So that will open that up. And there's a lot of questions about the A show. There's a lot of people. I had some people upset that I wouldn't assume the quality of SmackDown 16 months from now, because I don't know what Fox is going to say about the quality of this show. They may have went into this and they said, you give us top-notch level shit. And
now let's talk about that. So I actually, on my list this week, Sean, I actually wrote, will the product go to shit? As one of my headlines, because I knew people were going to be concerned about that. So I understand that some wrestling fans are concerned that when you're getting so much guaranteed money, that Vince McMahon's motivation is going to become even less than what it is now, and that we're going to see a lot more Bobby Lashley sister segments. Which, what did you call it? The night that wrestling died 4?
Yes.
What were the first 3?
Lesnar versus Goldberg 1, or actually 2. That was the Survivor Series match.
I didn't mind that match. What was wrong with that?
In retrospect, it's all right.
Okay.
The quick win. Then there was Jinder Mahal winning the title.
Yes.
And then there's this most recent Backlash.
Okay, fair. Okay, good.
Basically, it is a compilation of Alex Palowski's overreactions.
I got it. Now, I haven't seen the Raw post show. Did he wear a mask again?
Yes, he did.
He did. Okay, because that was really bad. Bad.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it was really bad. So anyway, I understand that people are concerned from a fan perspective, from a creativity perspective, that the show is going to get even worse. But the first thing that I thought of when I saw this deal on this kind of money, do you remember when they were doing all the stuff with Muhammad Hassan, and the network stepped in and more or less forced Vince McMahon to write off the character? Because they were
right? They had terrorists on their program,
and they were having them
portrayed terrorists.
Yes, they had him wearing masks. They had him doing the knife throat sign.
That's one for Nigel to look into.
Oh,
for Trick 10.
Nigel will love it.
The day of the London bombings, they had masked men with piano wires come out and help a perceived Muslim guy that had been complaining about the 9/11 attacks, choke out a dude and kidnap him.
Even though he was really Italian.
Serious?
Yeah, the guy's really Italian, but they pretended he was Muslim.
Oh, God.
But anyway, when I think of that, and when I think of the fact that the network had the authority to tell Vince McMahon essentially to write off a character, I also remember in the past, you remember Bonnie Hammer?
Of course.
So anybody not familiar, Bonnie Hammer was the head of NBC Universal for a while. I don't know if she still is. Maybe she was the head of USA Network.
Yeah, USA. Instrumental in a lot of success in WWE.
Yeah, so Bonnie Hammer and Vince McMahon were tight for years and years, and she had say. And she could tell Vince McMahon, I don't like this, change this. I don't like that, change that. You think that if Fox is paying $200 million a year and USA, NBC Universal is paying $400 million a year, that they're not going to want to have some kind of say in the programming? So,
exactly. And personally, I look at this, and WWE loves the troll culture and the psych, we got you type of thing sometimes. Like, we see that all the time. If I'm WWE right now, I don't go that way. They're afraid of heat, as Jeff has mentioned. They're really afraid of real heat.
You mean public heat?
Or else I mean heat on their program.
Oh,
like they're afraid. They're afraid of like maybe some politically incorrect heat. Probably the most edgy thing they've done is the Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax thing in recent memory. I would go the complete other way, and a lot of people say, oh, you can't always get the fans what you want. Well, yeah, there was a 4-year Hulk Hogan run that did them pretty well. And if you're just like, what's their motivation? Well, their motivation is to get more people interested in the product, get more people to say, I like what I'm watching. I'm having fun watching this. I'm satisfied watching this. And now to get asses in the seats, because why not? If you're already making this money off rights fees, let's go ahead and get some network subscriptions. Let's go ahead and get some more asses in the seats. let's not just worry about, well, this one guy wants this one thing. Let's creatively satisfy the audience and grow your business even more. That's what I would hope they would do as a responsible business.
So my expectation is that's not going to happen short term.
Yeah.
I think short term, I personally think Vince McMahon has not been motivated in several years. And I think that things are going to just get worse short term because now he's going to have so much money. You only need so much money, Sean.
Yeah. I know.
You get to the point with what the hell are you even going to do with it anymore?
I don't know, and I can't relate. But if you can change that for me, that's always an option.
Let's keep talking about this. So, I think short-term Vince McMahon is going to – I think we're going to continue seeing segments like the Lashley Sisters segment short-term. I think we're going to keep seeing angles that are forgotten. We're going to keep seeing them not listening to the fans. Everything creatively that people complain about short-term, I think we're going to keep seeing it. But I think that once those contracts go into effect, if the ratings aren't there, if the 18 to 49 rating isn't there, they're definitely going to hear about it, and that will motivate them to change things up. And so I'm not too concerned long-term about creative. I am short-term. Long-term, I think they're going to get it together. One other thing I want to talk about here, because this has come up a few times. I've been reading some stuff on social media. I just want
to sneak this in before we get there. Apparently, 30 fights or 30 cards on the UFC on ESPN deal and 12 UFC pay-per-view prelim fights, which also indicates that UFC will be doing 12 pay-per-views annually now as opposed to 13. Also, the Contender Series on ESPN Plus, no mention at all of The Ultimate Fighter. It's about goddamn time.
Yeah, it's running scores. I want to talk about talent raises because I've seen people on social media saying, "What about the talent? What about the talent?" Now, the first thing I want to say is I really hope that WWE has learned from the UFC. And I know Vince McMahon is living in a bubble and he doesn't follow anything and he doesn't have a clue what's going on. It's the truth.
It is the truth.
But I think Triple H has his finger on the pulse.
They once joked that Vince didn't remember that Luke Gallows was Festus and that Luke Gallows backstage was like, please do not tell him.
I heard that that's the truth, that he really forgot. He really forgot.
It is. I mean, it's just it's a little bit of a joke, but it is true.
It is true. Yeah. I think he's in a bubble. I think half the celebrities that they book, he doesn't even know who the hell they are.
Now, half of them they book, I don't know who they are.
Well, that's fair. But let's talk about the talent. So going back to the UFC, in case anybody's listening to this that they're wrestling fans and they don't follow the UFC sold to WME, which is a talent agency, for $4 billion. Before they sold for $4 billion, they introduced a Reebok sponsorship contract. And what that essentially did was took money out of the fighters' pockets and put it into the UFC's pockets. That's essentially what happened.
And barely any.
Barely any, into the fighters' pockets. Then when they got when they were acquired for $4 billion, they basically did nothing for the talent. They didn't really change anything in terms of pay structure. The guys are still making what they were always making.
They brought him to Vegas for a week.
Right, that's right.
Where Angela Magana got punched in the fucking face by Cyborg.
Right.
Wow, what a perk.
So it really hit morale, and a lot of fighters came out and said, I had a relationship with Dana White. I don't know these new people, and I don't care kind of thing. And it really affected morale. And I am going to just believe that because Hunter is involved and because Hunter was a talent, that they're not going to make that same mistake. So I'm going to give you my opinion as to what I would do. First and foremost, now that the business model has shifted, and 20, 30 years ago, live events was their bread and butter. That's where they made their money. You would watch TV, you would see a top talent against an enhancement guy, and then they would say, if you want to see that top talent go against this other top talent, you got to come out to the Cubs Coliseum on Saturday in Hamilton, right? That was their business model. It's completely shifted. If I'm Vince McMahon, you want your talent healthy for your TV.
Exactly.
Right?
Priority number one.
Priority number one. Who gives a shit if you're going to get 4,000 people in Albany on Friday night? You want them healthy for your TV. You get what I'm saying, right? So the first thing that I would do is I would cut down on the live schedule.
Yeah, they don't make any giant amount of money off of that, from what I understand. Anyway, I'd have to take a look at the numbers, but
they do okay. It's still a revenue stream, right? And
I mean, they wouldn't have to run any live events if they didn't want to.
No, but I'm not suggesting they do that.
Exactly.
Because a lot of the talent, like Daniel Bryan comes to mind, a lot of the talent likes the live events because they have freedom. on the live events. And Chris Jericho even said on his podcast, I wanted to come back and just do live events.
Batista too,
because they have freedom and because they still have a passion for what they do. I'm not saying eliminate them. What I'm saying is instead of running Toronto 3 times a year, maybe you run it twice. Right?
Exactly.
Instead of the guys on the road 5 days a week, including travel days, maybe they're on the road 4 days a week. Maybe they're doing TV on Monday, TV on Tuesday for the other teams, pay-per-views on Sunday, maybe one other day kind of thing, right? On top of that, what's it going to hurt WWE if they cover hotel and car rentals? What's it going to hurt?
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, also a little bit of a sneaky exclusive. From what I understand, WWE does not plan on running Christmas and Christmas Eve this year, or at least it's not on their schedule right now, because I mean that was a big uproar backstage last year. They were not happy.
Yeah, but that's a minor thing, Sean. And again, back in the 80s, 70s, Christmas was one of the big holidays.
It ain't then anymore, though.
No, you're right.
Not that. And they are
you're
a
right.
TV company, and they had the week off leading up to that. They are going to run the December 26th show, though. Those are big live events
at
for
MSG,
them.
right?
Yeah, MSG, and I think Chicago. They're doing that annually now.
Okay.
They're splitting it up, and they're doing All-State and MSG.
Okay. So what I would do again if it was me, I would cut down on the live event schedule. Maybe 3 shows a week instead of 4. That's number one. Even 2 a week some weeks. That's number one. Number 2, I would pay for their hotel and rental car. And I know, again, talking to guys or reading books like Dan O'Brien's book where he talked about how developmental, I don't know if they still do now, but they used to have hotel and rental cars paid for if you're on a developmental contract. And Dan O'Brien would talk about how he would ride with some of the developmental guys because it was covered. Right? Mm-hmm. So I would take care of that. And then the third thing I would do, Sean, and we've talked about this before, is I would implement time off cycles where I would give a guy 6 weeks off, 2 months off on some kind of a rotation once or twice a year. Because number one, they come back rejuvenated, they come back excited, and they come back hot because the TV audience hasn't seen them in a while.
Yeah.
So I would absolutely do that. And I think that if they did something as simple as that stuff, it's not a ton of money coming out of WWE's pocket. And you're going to have a happier talent roster, especially when you consider that roster is going to be looking at that thinking they're making 3 times the money and where's my piece?
Yeah.
Because they're going to be thinking it.
Of course they will.
Yeah.
And a way to not have to raise the pay going forward is, like you said, take care of hotel, take care of the rental, and time off helps. Yep. Time off helps so much. I mean, a lot of WWE wrestlers get paid above what I think that most people perceive that they do. Like they live very, very well.
The top guys do.
I mean, all of them do pretty well. They're living pretty well. But
you think Bo Dallas is having a good time?
Yeah.
You think Bo Dallas is having a good time?
Yes, that Bo Dallas is doing well for himself.
Define well.
Oh, let's see. He's a 26-year-old who's been on the main roster for 4 years doing nothing. Yeah, he's doing pretty well for himself.
Okay, Sean, I'm gonna tell you a story.
He's doing well for himself to be there.
I'm gonna tell you a story, Sean. And this is going to define my point. And I know you love my stories, and I know our listeners love my stories. So let me tell you this one. My wife, and this is a lot of people, but my wife is an example. She used to take her car for an oil change, right, to a town like 45 minutes away from our house.
Yeah.
And it's because she's always done that, right? And one day she was going to do that oil change, and I said to her, there's a Mr. Lube, which is like a Canadian chain. There's a Mr. Lube around the corner. Yeah. Why the hell don't you go to the Mr. Lube instead of going, 30 to 45 minutes out of your way? Well, but they have a deal. I'm going to save $20. And I said to my wife, what is your time worth? You can go around the corner 5 minutes, pay an extra $20, or you can waste 30 minutes one way, 30 minutes back, and save yourself $20. And that kind of flipped a switch in her mind. And now she understands that your time is of value. Bo Dallas is on the road 250 to 300 days a year, Sean. Who gives a shit if he makes $200,000 a year?
Him.
He's I get that they love it. Okay? But at the end of the day, when he looks at what did I actually take home for the year? I was on the road 200 and some days a year. I paid for my own hotels. I paid for my own rental cars. I paid for my own food. How much did I take home? Probably not as much as you think. Right? That's why I think that if the company did something so, to them, little, but big for the talent, like hotels, like rental cars, they could give them a per diem for food. Hell, I did it for guys that went to Buffalo for UFC. Yeah. I gave them a per diem, right? If they did something like that, that would go so far with that talent, Sean. So they need to do something.
I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would. I mean, some of these wrestlers are doing just better than what I think a lot of people expect that they would be doing. Not to say that they shouldn't be making more. They should be making more.
I mean, sure, Roman
They
Reigns
should have
makes like
stepped up.
2.5 a year, but that, he's been in a main event 4 years in a row. I
Yeah.
hope it.
He should.
Yeah, he should.
But, yeah, there's a lot of things that should change and hopefully will change, and I'm cautiously optimistic about everything moving forward, but there's a lot of talk about the A show right now. We still don't know what Raw's going to get.
They're looking at $400 million a year. That's what it looks like. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, well, no, they won't get that much because that's twice as much as SmackDown. Well, they're 3 hours. That's a 33% time difference right there.
That's right.
They are the A show, and it's going to be on Monday night. They're not moving Raw anywhere.
No, they're not. No. It's going to happen. And again, I can't help but think about NBCU's excuse for what they offered them on their last contract about, we're not making the money back in advertiser fees and everything like that. Now they're going to pay them $400 million a year.
Yeah.
It's insane, Sean.
WWE
But you know
told
what? Good for
soft
WWE.
that. Yeah, good for them.
WWE.
Hopefully good for us, too.
Yeah.
Good for us was all the interviews that we had throughout the spring that caused me to lose track of the Conan and Sammy Callihan talk that I had. This clip I've had in the can for quite a while. Conan isn't even with the goddamn company anymore, Jimmy.
Thanks for putting fresh content on the site, Sean. Appreciate it.
Hot dog. Hey, you all are going to get some more of it. I found a bunch of stuff that...
Do you have interviews from the Iron Sheik circa 88 you want to throw up on Fightful? Or,
Well, I wish I did because I'm pretty sure that's about the time he got popped for cocaine, yeah?
That might have been, yeah.
So there we go. Check out this clip of Sami Callihan and Conan. Sammy, you've worked a little bit of everywhere, or at least been seen on TV a little bit of everywhere over the last year. How is that different from a couple of years ago? Because it didn't seem like that was an option for virtually anybody a few years ago, let alone the number of wrestlers that are doing it now.
Well, wrestling's changing right now. The time and age of the territories of people working against each other is at its all-time end. Like, it's not going to happen anymore. Wrestling has to change. I think Impact finally realizes that. I think the wrestling world is starting to realize that. WWE, like it or not, has a monopoly on wrestling, and they might always have. But there can be a true alternative if everyone else works together. It just shows the amount of wrestling fans there are in the world. Last year for WrestleMania weekend, there was 200,000 people in Orlando, but only, 80,000 went to WrestleMania? So there was an equal amount of people, if not more, there just to do all the other events, the conventions, watch all the other shows. So it's a really cool time to be a professional wrestler. And me, personally, being able to show up everywhere, I think it kind of helps my character. It helps my gimmick to the fact that I am the worldwide desperado. You never know where I'm going to show up. I'm blazing trails and being a cowboy. And that's what I'm always going to be. And right now, where I am in my life, being able to wrestle for Impact, Lucha Underground, sometimes New Japan, you never know where I'm going to show up, and I always like to have that allure about me.
And Conan, you've had your hands dipped in several promotions as well. Like, what do you think about the changes that have been made in that regard?
Bro, I've been advocating that people should be working together for years. It's been, I've always been a guy that's tried to break the exploitation and the monopoly that there is in wrestling. And it's just, like, for example, I remember one time when I was working for Crash, we did this thing with the Hardy Boys. And just because the referee, I think it was maybe Marty Elias, had shown up on Crash, and they showed that match on Impact, they sent them a cease and desist letter. And so we actually digitalized the referee's face, and it was that petty. It's like, really, dude, that's what you're getting mad about? We should all be fighting. We should all be uniting, because at the end of the day, we're all fighting for breadcrumbs, and if we all get together, we can make a big pie. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that finally Impact is working with AAA and everybody's starting to kind of work together, because, like, now the power's in the wrestlers' hands, and people like, Sammy and the Young Bucks and Joey Ryan and, Ricochet before he went to WWE were clear examples of that. You can make, Matt Riddle, you can make really good, the Lucha Brothers, you can make really good money, and so now the power's gone back to the wrestler. And I think promotions have recognized that unless they start, being more just and fair in the way that they work with talent, that talent isn't going to want to work with them.
I'm dealing with a rental, all right?
We're back on the air.
Okay.
Jimmy, are you a fan of Wave Runner 64?
That has something to do with jet skis, doesn't
Wave
it?
Race 64. It's a video game on Nintendo 64.
Oh, does it? Okay.
off the air,
Yeah.
while you all are watching this clip that Nigel's put together that I did and that Jimmy wasn't paying attention to. He's like, my brother's like, get me your ID. And I'm like, why? What's wrong?
Well, he's been on me for days, yeah.
Is it a passport issue? And what did you say, Jimmy? Keep in mind, I'm plugging a Fightful Select service every week so people can chip away at our staff costs.
Well, because you're so fucking expensive. That's why.
Not that expensive.
You're the one that puts us underwater, Sean.
Just saying, you overpaid Vince Russo from the start.
Yeah, but if I take you out, we're profitable.
Yeah, but are you? Because no, you're not.
You know what's ironic, Sean? Is that in this situation, I'm NBCU and you're WWE.
Well, okay. You enjoy your 32 views per video. Anyway, tell them what you told me.
We're working on jet ski insurance. He needed my ID.
I didn't even know that was a fucking thing! Jet ski insurance!
I think you broke Sean.
I think I did freak Sean. I think I did. Yeah. So, Sean, let me explain to you the situation, all right?
Yeah, please.
You know that I have a cottage. I've told you this, right? This is the first summer that we're getting the cottage on commercial insurance because we're going to rent it out.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a process to do that. So that's what my brother-in-law is working on. He lives there. He's a property manager over there, and that's what he's working on for me. But if I told you the rental rates for cottages out on the river out there, Sean, you would shit your pants if I told you.
Oh, I'm sure I would. I told you also off the air, I was taking a cab across Toronto last year, and the cab driver said, how much would this place that he pointed at, a detached house in downtown Toronto, cost where you live, or where I'm looking? Where I'm looking is Georgetown, Kentucky, and that's kind of expensive for our area. And I said, probably $150 to $175, maybe $200 if it's in a really great neighborhood. And he said, that house just sold for 1.8 million Canadian.
No. And
I said, fuck.
Yeah, that's how it is, man. I thought you were looking in Louisville.
No. That's way too far out of the way. We're looking at Georgetown, Kentucky eventually. It's geographically literally right in between here and Lexington to us. It's about 20 minutes.
That's what I meant, Lexington.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes away from Lexington, so it's a little bit better of a neighborhood.
Okay, that's cool. I want to talk a little bit more number stuff with WWE, and then we'll move on.
Why, are they getting jet ski insurance too?
Oh, I bet this man has private jet insurance, Sean.
He probably does.
I don't have that, bud. You know? So we kind of already touched upon this. 2 years ago, it was inconceivable that WWE would double UFC's domestic rights. Inconceivable.
Yeah.
Can you believe, 2 years ago, WWE was perceived as, staged fake fighting, and UFC was the true live sport.
More accepted, I think, right now than ever in my life.
Probably than ever. Yeah.
Even the rock and wrestling era, I think it's more widely accepted because there isn't a lot of people that are like, oh, it's real. Nowadays, when you hear people say, oh, it's fake, and I'm like, well, what entertainment are you watching?
It's true. You know what I remember, and I don't know if you remember this. There was some kind of an award show in '93. It wasn't even a show. It was just some awards ceremony in '93. And they aired a clip of it on WWE syndicated programming. And on the clip, Hulk Hogan presented an award to Vince McMahon and said, he's my boss. And that was the first time that I, as a fan, ever remember them acknowledging on television that Vince McMahon is the boss of Hulk Hogan kind of thing.
Did you know before that?
I don't think I did because I would have been in my teens and I didn't really follow the Observer or anything. So I don't.
Yeah, I just knew him as an announcer.
Yes.
Until really I started to wonder why Bret Hart was blaming shit on Vince McMahon in '97.
Right. I knew after that thing in '93. That's when I knew. But it's so different now because now the guys will talk about finishes of matches and interviews, and they'll talk about it's just so accepted that it's entertainment now. And I agree with you. I think that it's much more widely received now. And who would have thought even 2 years ago WWE would be on Fox Television? You'd think they'd be on FS1. You know?
Yeah, that was the big conversation, and nobody thought that UFC would be on ESPN either. Yep. Here's another interesting question I have about ESPN. Two guys they hired. Ariel Helwani, one of the best journalists in the game, period. I think that really he's unmatched. But has often been at odds with Dana White.
Mm-hmm.
And they have him working for them
Mm-hmm.
and running a show with Bellator's Chael Sonnen.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting
And
combination.
Ariel's a big wrestling fan, too.
Yes, he is.
And I guarantee you that they're going to use him for that.
Oh, they should.
Yep, they will.
They absolutely should.
So is he done with MMA fighting? Is this a full-time gig?
I think at the end of the month he is done with MMA fighting because he said his goodbyes, and a lot of dominoes are going to fall there.
That's
too,
a big hit. That's a big hit.
That's a big hit to MMA fighting, and they have some really great people like Mark Ramondi, who I think is awesome. But I wonder if they will. There's a lot of questions in my mind as a managing editor what they would do with that. Will that open up budget for them to get other people, or will they just be like, okay, you can't replace him, so why try to replace him, and maybe push that towards, oh, well, that's something we just don't have to pay, and we can move towards even more profitability that way.
What's the name of the show? Is it called Inside MMA?
The MMA Hour.
MMA Hour. They cannot continue that with somebody else. They can't.
Yeah.
They're going to have to just discontinue and do something else.
There's only one guy who has that many connections, and he's working for Fightful.com, James Lynch.
I was going to say, Jeff Hawkins has that many connections?
Jeff Hawkins has that many connections, yes.
So a couple more numbers things. So first and foremost, Dave Meltzer reported that Facebook paid WWE $100,000 per episode for your favorite show, the Mixed Match Challenge. And there were 12 episodes.
Mixed Match Madness.
Yeah, Mixed Match Madness. Yeah. There were 12 episodes. That's $1.2 million, and that was essentially free money because the talent was there, the trucks were there. They didn't really have to do anything different. So good for them on that. Now, do you remember when I told you my story about how when somebody I knew in the company called me and said, hey, they're going to be announcing this network thing, and you might want to get in on the stock. And so I got in on the stock, and then the stock tanked when the announcement came out. You remember that?
Yeah.
And I think I bought it at 18, if I remember right, and I sold it for like 11 when it tanked. Well, wouldn't you know that this morning, we're doing this on May 23rd, this morning the stock was at just under $58 for a market cap of almost $4.5 billion.
I remember when it was in the single digits.
Yeah. Crazy.
And, well, first off, a lifetime of money for somebody who isn't Vince McMahon was left on the table based on the amount that he took out whenever he did the Alpha Entertainment thing, just between now and then. Which Jeff mentioned maybe it's Class B stock instead of Class A stock. But
what did he get per share for that? Do you remember?
I can't remember, but man, whoo boy.
It's like they're doing incredible, the best they've ever done. And it's so shocking that we're at a time when creative is in the shitter.
Yeah.
And yet they're doing better than they've ever done. It's amazing. You know, it's amazing. How's our time? Should we do stupid people now? Let's see.
LV Sports Group says admitting to insider trading again. The balls on Jimmy V.
I lost money on that deal.
Well, he doesn't have the balls.
How many times do I have to explain this to people?
He doesn't have the balls to let his tenants jet ski without insurance. So.
Okay, now technically, they would only be doing it with my brother present. They're not doing it otherwise because I'm not an idiot.
Have you jet skied?
Of course, absolutely, many times.
Wow.
Of course.
Interesting.
Yeah. Why would I buy a jet ski and not use it, Sean?
I don't know. I mean,
don't you remember when we first started this thing and you told me, I want to buy a gold jet ski? Do you remember? You're like, we're going to do so well on Fightful, I'm going to buy a gold jet ski.
Well, I think it was, yeah, I probably did. I can't remember the exact vehicle that I wanted to purchase, but
it might have been a gold boat.
Probably something like that.
Might have been. You ever been on a jet ski before?
I don't think so. I'm not a big open water guy.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Oh, it looks like it'd be a blast. But yeah.
Can you swim?
I'm not a big open water guy. Oh, yeah, I can swim really well.
Okay, then there you go. There you go.
Yeah, but I live next to the Ohio River, and I don't know if you've seen the movie X-Men, but I don't want to become a mutant.
Got it.
Based on what they put in this river, especially the shit that floats up from Portsmouth, Ohio. It's
literally shit, probably. Literally shit.
Yeah, like as soon as you dip a toe in that river, like all of your teeth but two fall out. You'll keep two. That's the rule.
So I feel like I shouldn't tell this story for any potential tennis, but I'll tell you. So my cottage is on the St. Lawrence River. I have like a little island because it's called the Thousand Islands. And I think it was 2 summers ago. Nigel might have heard this because he keeps tabs on this kind of stuff. 2 summers ago, Montreal is on the other end of the St. Lawrence, right? On the east side, it's Toronto area, and then on the west side's Toronto, east side's Montreal. Like 2 summers ago, the Montreal sewer needed some kind of repair. Oh. And they decided to empty it into the St. Lawrence River so that they could then take care of any repairs that needed to be done. And my brother-in-law called me. I had just bought the cottage and said, just so you know, they just passed this thing in Montreal. They're going to be dumping the sewer into the St. Lawrence River.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, that's good. So my place is going to smell like shit. But what ended up happening, and I just want to see your reaction to this. It turned out to be fine. And you know why that was, Sean?
Why?
Because they determined that by the time stuff would have gotten to my area of the St. Lawrence River, the fish would have already eaten the waste.
Oh, no. Oh, and you know that's happening in the Ohio River. And you see some weird mutant fish there, too. I mean, and a lot of people don't know what the Ohio River is. If you've ever seen Great American Ballpark, Cincinnati, the Ohio River is right behind it. Technically, one time, Adam Dunn hit a home run out of the ballpark, and it bounced into the water there, and it's Kentucky property, so there was always the joke that he hit a home run into Kentucky. But, man, that was the coolest thing to ever happen to that river. That's about the extent of it.
All right, let's go to Stupid People.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
Man, I feel like we've talked about nothing today because we've been talking about rights fees for 50 minutes. But, so first off,
main thing to talk about.
And it is pretty big news. It is.
Yes.
So first off, trevorstrong.org, thanks for the rights to the song, or the usage of the song anyway. I didn't ask for the rights. Thanks for the usage of the song.
It's ours now.
It's ours now. Yeah. I could buy it from me if I wanted. And after this,
did you gentrify his music catalog? Is that what you did?
Okay. If you go on his website and if you donate like a cent, you get the MP3, Sean.
Okay.
He doesn't care. I'm getting him.
How much did you donate? A cent. You donated a cent. You son of a bitch. You donated
Technically,
a cent.
I haven't donated anything, but how much is the plug worth every week, Sean?
That's true. I do see comments on the video that are like, listen, your boy sent me
So there you go. So
we encourage you to find it on YouTube, post that, and make us feel better about ourselves.
Oh, I feel fine. trevorstrong.org. Go and check it out.
Because unlike Jimmy, I am also poor like Trevor Strong likely is.
Okay, now you're judging. You don't know, Sean. He could be sitting in a mansion in Kingston, Ontario. Like, you don't know, man. You know?
Man.
After this, go to FightfulSelect.com and we'll have Stupid People Extended for you. And I got some good ones again. So, some of these, Sean. And I know you've heard of some of these because some of these went viral. So let's get to the first one. This was reported by WCIV ABC4 out of Charleston, South Carolina on May 21st. It's the Publix one, Nigel. Nigel can put that up. So a woman ordered a graduation cake online for her son via Publix.com. She wanted it to say summa cum laude because it was...
Oh, no.
Did you not hear this one before?
No, but I know where it's going.
Okay. So the picture should be up. Not just putting the picture up for our video viewers. She wanted it to say summa cum laude, which means, graduating with highest honors. Publix deemed it to be profane. And so when she picked up the cake... Nigel will show you what they got. They actually censored out the word cum, and what she got was a cake that said summa ... laude. That's actually the cake that she got.
So Publix edited that.
So here,
they probably have a bot that did it.
Yes,
right?
but here's the thing that really kills me, Sean. I understand that they have a filter. And I understand that the online filter would have probably caught that. I get that, okay? They picked it up at a bakery. The baker or the cake decorator put in the ... Sean. All right? Don't you think that the cake decorator would take 2 seconds, look at that, and go, oh, wait a second, I think that's supposed to be something else. No, they put in the ... at the bakery.
Yeah, but I mean, who are they to know that that might be an inside joke for these people? They don't really know. It didn't get there.
Come on.
What's the name of the segment right now that we're doing?
Stupid People.
Okay.
That's why it's in there, Sean.
I know. It's in there because of
What is this, an Abbott and Costello routine? This is the reason I have it in there, man.
Exactly. So why are you that surprised?
Because it's still stupid. That's why. Anyway, there you go. This next one.
The YouTube filters didn't catch that word in the chat, but they flagged.
Yeah, it definitely did not dotted in our live
Oh,
chat.
that's cool. You can say whatever you want in the live chat. I don't care.
Unless
This
I
next
ban
one,
you. And I will.
This was reported by thestack.com on May 22nd. This one, Sean. So there's a woman named Marcy Robin, and she's contributing editor for Allure magazine. And on May 19th, she posted this on Twitter, and Nigel's going to put this up. Quote, I bought a car today, and the dealership had me check off with a pen on paper that I'm not a robot. She then posted a photo of a reCAPTCHA checkbox that they asked her to sign in person using a pen on a piece of paper.
Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Terminator movies, and you can never be too careful these days.
So you think it might have been a droid?
If I'm working at Dan Cummins Chevrolet, there's a easy plug for him. Give me some money off on my loan, guys. I want to make sure that Skynet isn't coming back and trying to fuck things up for everybody.
So what you're telling me is that this dealership thought there was a chance that what do you call it? Like, is it what they call it, a droid?
T-1000 maybe?
An android.
An android. So you're telling me that they thought there was a chance that this woman buying a car, probably like a Corolla, was an android.
Could be one of those sex robots, man. Science has come a long way. Just wheeling and dealing on the streets in their Chevy Cruze.
Sean, let me tell you something, man. This last one for the Sean Ross Sapp file this week.
I'm ready.
This was reported everywhere because it went viral on May 16. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned it at the end of our show last week because it came out around that time.
No less than a dozen people have contacted me about it.
So not only did I have people on Twitter hit me up, I got some emails. My brother-in-law sent me a text message. Hey, did you hear about this one? I think I had all in around 20 messages from different people wanting to include this in Stupid People this week. It is by far the most requested Stupid People news story ever I've ever had. And it has to do with my beloved Tim Hortons right here, which is probably why they sent it to us. So
I'm getting that coupon book just for referencing this.
A woman in Langley, British Columbia, and Nigel's going to have a video clip in a second. If there's no audio, maybe you can put it up while I'm talking, Nigel. A woman in Langley, British Columbia could be facing charges after she got into a confrontation with staff at a Tim Hortons coffee shop for non-Canadians, then pulled her pants down, took a shit on the floor, picked it up with a napkin, threw it at the staff, took another napkin, wiped her butt with it, threw that at the staff too, and then ran out. Apparently, she was pissed off because the staff denied her access to the guest bathroom. And apparently they denied her that based on past behavior, and so that's how she decided to handle it. There was surveillance footage of it, and it went viral everywhere across Live Leak and YouTube.
She handled it all right.
Oh, she handled it, and it was she really had to go, Sean.
Yeah, we're doing the uncensored version, I see.
Oh, absolutely. I was looking for the uncensored version.
Yeah, we're not
okay.
This week.
Hey, it was on YouTube, Melissa. So whatever. So that's how she handled it.
Definitely thought my ass would be the first one to eventually get shown on this program, but hey, glad that wasn't the case. You
want to be the next one, Sean?
Sir, that is sexual harassment, and I don't have to take that.
You just said. You just
you know. It doesn't matter.
You know
that
what?
was a proposition.
Sean, take it up with HR, bud.
Well, listen, you give me an extra day off the week, you start paying for my hotel and my rental car, and we'll see what happens. But, okay, so obviously I had heard about this before I watched the video.
Yeah.
I got probably 8 of those 10 to 12 submissions before I even watched it. I knew what was coming.
Yep.
I saw I was aware of the situation.
Yep.
I knew how it was going to unfold. I wasn't prepared for the video despite that.
Yep.
I truly wasn't ready for it. I'm baffled. I'm a little stammered right now.
Really?
She went above and beyond, man. Like,
I don't know what that says about me, Nigel and Melissa, but I didn't flinch at all. Didn't bother me one bit.
Because my eyes were glued to the screen, for better or for worse.
I mean, you've seen worse things in your own bathroom.
I think it's because of my kids. Yeah, I've definitely seen worse. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but I mean, like, she shit. She picked it up, and she said she evaluated the situation. She said she shook off the catcher even. She's like, no, not the curveball. I'm bringing the heater.
Yep.
Then she was like, all right, let me wipe.
I'm a lady.
Then she's like, all right, now you get the curve because this one's going to have some break to it. And the napkins went there. Meanwhile, the people are just standing there like the other people just watching like, is this going on? Because they can't see her in the act of shitting.
Yeah, she's behind a little wall thing. Yeah. You know what I kind of wonder, too, because you know how people are pretty fucked this day and age. I wonder if the Tim's employee, if he decided to put that shit-filled napkin on eBay, if he'd have a buyer for that.
Well, I think they have a rule against like bodily fluids and stuff like that.
Oh, do they really?
Probably.
Okay, so then he puts it inside like a locket, and he sells the shit locket on eBay. He calls it the Tim Horton shit locket. Because people will buy anything, man. People are fucked up. You remember the Sasha Banks hair that was in the T-shirt?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And what did it go for? Was it like $1,000 or something? Or $100?
A viewer says, you guys love your dick shits and now comes. And then Pat Fannin said, you need commas. Yes. Commas go a long way in this situation.
All right. Well, we're gonna try to get back to wrestling after that.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, that Tim's one is hard to beat. And we've known about it for a week.
Give her $1 billion over 5 years. I'll watch that out of morbid curiosity every week.
For how long, Sean? Would you watch it on a loop?
5 years, yeah.
For 5 years, you'd watch that every Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m.
Have you watched Raw lately? I practically do.
Fair. That's fair. I've actually missed the last 2 weeks because of my move.
Lucky you.
That's why I told you on Monday night I was busy with Rogers on the phone for 2 hours, but it was a blessing in disguise because I got to miss the Lashley sister segment.
You sure did.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst segments I've ever seen.
It was really bad. I saw it later on. It was really bad.
Yeah.
So let's move on. So speaking of WWE, we were talking about live events earlier. They just wrapped up a European tour, and this is why I said that they shouldn't completely scrap live events. A lot of the talent seemed pretty stoked by the European tour. I saw a photo of Ronda Rousey with a bunch of the crew in Paris. I saw a clip of Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman eating Vienna sausage in Vienna. Now, of course, I've got to mention one of my new favorites, Sami Zayn. He's become one of my favorites since he turned heel. Nigel, put up that video clip. This was... I didn't know there was audio with that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So that was Sami Zayn on the European tour, tag teaming with Samoa Joe, dancing to Samoa Joe's music the way that only Sami Zayn can. The guy is the greatest swarmy heel in the company right now. I think he's awesome. So good for him. And I think that's all I had to say about that one, Sean. I think that's all I had to say. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I wanted to mention. So everybody is so easily shitting on creative this week, the Lashley Sisters segment and all that. And you know, Sean, as we did a couple weeks ago, I want to look for the positives, right? So let's look at a couple of positives from WWE television this week. First and foremost, we got Daniel Bryan against Jeff Hardy on Smackdown. I know you said on the post-Smackdown show it was Jeff Hardy's first submission loss in how many years?
15 years.
15 years.
And a singles match at the very least, yeah.
So there's that. And then next week, we're going to get Daniel Bryan against Samoa Joe for the first time in over 11 years. That's going to be fun.
One of our Fightful Select sponsor-level contributors, Alex Anderson's going to be there. He'll be on the Members Only podcast next month, and we'll kind of recount his experience there.
Awesome. So that's cool. And then on top of that, it looks like finally, WWE is ready to embrace Rusev and Aiden English as baby faces.
I hope.
Now, if this week's SmackDown is any indication, so Aiden English did the intro for Lana. And you know how
great.
It was great, but you know how with Rusev, he would do the song, everybody would love it, but then he would shit on the town, right?
Yeah.
He didn't do that this week.
I know.
It was pure babyface. Lana came out dancing like Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
She is a much better dancer than Carlton. She is actually an exceptional dancer.
Yeah, but she was trying her best to be funny, though, the way she did it.
Yes.
She was trying her best. The whole thing was full babyface, and the crowd was actually chanting Lana Day at the end. I thought it was a great segment. I'm ready to see them all be babyfaces. And I hope they embrace it and don't have them shitting on the town again next week.
Yeah, she's over, man. And Aiden's over.
And Rusev's over, for sure. For sure.
I've always said it's a lot harder to build likable people than not likable people, and if you have that, you should probably embrace it and do it well. Elias could do the same thing. All he has to do is not shit on the town at the end of his deal.
Exactly, same thing.
And you have a baby face.
And you know what's killer is if somebody said to, say, Vince McMahon 2 years ago, how would you feel if you have a guy and all he does is sing, like that, and the crowd pops? How would you feel about that? He'd be like, that'd be great, right?
Yeah.
How would you feel if you have a guy and all he does is do one strum on his guitar and the crowd pops? Oh, that'd be great. Well, now
Keep
you
in
got
mind
it.
the people who didn't get that gimmick over. Road Dogg and Billy Gunn became one of the most over teams of all time.
As a
and
rib.
they couldn't get that same gimmick over.
Right.
Jeff Jarrett couldn't get that gimmick over.
Right. I mean,
Elias.
Road Dogg and Billy Gunn were put together as a rib.
Yeah.
They weren't supposed to get over. So that in itself is a great story, you know. But anyway, moving on. Did you hear about the little all-in angle that Cody did with Flip Gordon?
Kind of.
I think it's very clever. I really liked it. And it goes to show the power of the internet because this is going to help attendance with a couple of independent promotions. We're in a different world now for pro wrestling. So on Being the Elite, Cody Rhodes told Flip Gordon that he'll book him for the All-In show.
Yeah.
Did you heard about this?
Yes.
Okay. In order for him to get booked on the All-In show, he has to win a tag team match on a show promoted by Russell Pro on June 8 in New Jersey. And what they did was Cody said, I'm going to draw 2 names out of a hat. You're going to take on those 2 names, and you get to pick your partner. He then drew 2 names. One of them was MJF, who I will admit I'd never heard of.
He's great.
Okay, I'd never heard of him.
If he's not in the WWE by the end of next year, something's wrong.
So he was one of them, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. The other was Madison Rain. And then Cody said, okay, you get to pick a female because I picked a male and a female. It's going to be a mixed tag, and you get to pick a female. Flip Gordon did the brilliant thing, and he picked Cody's wife, Brandy, as his partner.
Who has a broken clavicle.
And I was going to say, is she even going to be cleared? Like, can she even wrestle?
I would be shocked, but also, shout-outs to Brandy Rhodes. She worked like 2 matches with a broken clavicle before she even got checked out.
Right.
You can say what you want about her getting the opportunities based on who she's married. That's tough.
It is.
That's some toughness. And she's a great character, too.
Well, I thought that this little angle, even though it was just like a little online show angle, I thought it was really clever. And so now the idea is the whole team will be at All-In if the team wins, meaning that, of course, Cody's probably going to help them win now, right, for Brandy. So I thought that was very clever. I really like that. Did you hear that a former WCW World Champion returned to the ring recently?
Yes, David Arquette.
David Arquette. You got that picture, Nigel?
Yes, I do.
He showed up at a wrestling school in Richmond, Virginia called RC's Wrestling School, run by a guy named Ref Chris Sharp. I guess he's done stuff with Impact Wrestling as a referee.
Yeah.
And apparently David Arquette, it wasn't just a thing where he came, did a few spots, and shook a few hands, took a few photos. Apparently he stayed for an entire session, and he trained with the rest of the class in a normal session, but he did film it for a documentary, apparently. So, and
he ain't doing that for fun.
He's not doing it for fun. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that. Enzo Amore. I'm making Nigel work now because we got a photo of this one too. He posted on his Instagram yesterday, May 22nd, quote, I'll be breaking my social media silence in Times Square at 9:15 p.m. on May 28, which is Memorial Day, for one big IG how you doing. What do you think the plan is, Sean?
He's going to announce his self-financed rap album and a shitty clothing line and, I don't know, give a link to his SoundCloud probably. By the way, subscribe to us on SoundCloud, y'all.
You sound excited, man. You sound excited.
I'm not. I mean, good for him. I can tell you that I interviewed the accuser, and boy, was that messy.
Yeah.
And everybody involved in that situation from top to bottom, how I would classify them is fucking idiot. All of them.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that it's over for now. I hope nobody got raped. That's really all I can say. When the best thing I can say is I hope nobody got raped, that speaks volumes about the situation.
I was going to say we definitely have to move on.
Yes, we do. We can move on to the second clip of this Conan Sammy Callihan uncovered discussion that I had. Take a listen. Sammy, I know that you've been on a couple of cards with Brian Pillman Jr., who has just kind of started his wrestling journey. Do you have any impressions of him early on and what you think of him?
Yeah, absolutely. Pillman Jr. has started training with me, Dave, and Jake at the OI4K Wrestling Academy in Dayton, Ohio, which just opened up. Which we have like 23 students right now, but he'd already been training for a little bit at OVW, and he wanted to just train under some new people, learn some new things, and we've kind of taken him under our wing now for the last couple of weeks, and he's hungry. He has a great look. He's going to be a big star, like it or not, no matter what. So I'd rather him jump on our bandwagon and be part of our team where we can get him and really help him and gear him towards the right direction.
And Conan, any thoughts of that? Have you seen any of Pillman Jr. yet?
No, I have not. I met him when I actually went to the Brian Pillman Memorial, so he was like a little kid at that time. Yeah, I haven't seen nothing of him, and I hope that, he picked up a lot of his dad's characteristics, because his dad was one of my favorite, realest guys that ever existed in this business. And I give a little shout out to Sammy and his crew, because they're starting to produce a lot of talent out there. I've actually used a couple of their boys, and they're well trained. Like I used Trey Miguel. Who's another guy that I used from your camp, Sammy?
What was the question again? I'm sorry, you kind of broke up at the end.
I was actually putting you over, which will be the last time during this call, which was I was saying that you have a school and you've been putting out some really good prospects, because he was asking me about Brian Pillman Jr., and I used Trey Miguel, and there's another guy I used from that you guys trained that was very good too. I mean, you guys are starting to really produce some good, talent down there.
Absolutely. We brought Trey Miguel into the world, and now he's working for Aero Lucha, and he's going to start blowing up even more this year. We have Zachary Wentz and Desmond Xavier. Desmond Xavier already wrestling for Impact Wrestling, big star there. They're over at Dragon Gate right now, absolutely killing it together. Now we have Brian Pillman Jr. We have a lot of really good young guys coming through our system. We're trying to build our own territory in the Midwest. We're trying to build our own thing and say where the Midwest is, where it's at in America right now. We just had MJF and Ace Romero, who are two great young guys, move to our area, come under our wing, and start working for all of our promotions. And this is just the start of things. We're going to have more and more and more and more people move in. We just got a wrestler that just moved here from Syria that wanted to start training, that speaks Arabic and a couple other languages, that he has a ton of potential. The sky's the limit for our school right now, and I think in the next couple of years, like, our guys are going to be the guys getting booked everywhere.
And we're back.
We're back with noted cancer lover Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
How can you say something like that, man?
Well, you said that when you brought me back to Toronto, you were going to have people hold me down and cut my hair.
Yeah. And then I said, we'll donate it.
First off, that's assault. Second off, I'm saving it up for a good cause. Also, I have learned it is very hard to even get to the point to where you can start to donate it, because it has to be a certain length after a ponytail, and I'm not anywhere close.
I mean, I'd make sure you had a good meal before we talk you to the ground,
Wow, yeah.
So you'd be all right. You'd be in a nice hotel room.
You made sure I had a good meal the last time I was there. And B, shout-outs to B for picking the spot, and for Greg for guilting you into it. So.
No, he didn't guilt me into it. That didn't happen. I guess he kind of did, because I felt sorry for him. I felt sorry for him because he was hammered on the phone trying to plead his case.
He was
hammered. And I was like,
ass is here.
I was like, oh, here's this friggin' drunk piece of shit trying to sell me on, dude. I was like, just fucking do it.
I love it that he was like, but SRS, he's here in Toronto, and you're like, yeah, I'm aware of the situation. I brought him here.
Yeah.
I just saw him.
Uh-huh.
What else you got on the list?
Did you hear about the NXT live show in Dallas last week?
It depends in what context you mean.
So, you know how we have kind of been on WWE, and I realize NXT and WWE, not necessarily the same in some respects.
I mean, NXT is way below Era Lucha, in which we are minority owners of.
Yes, it is. And
we're sending Pat Fannin there next month. Well, kind of. He's just took it upon himself. He's going to go to the taping.
Awesome. That's good. Well, they did a live show in Dallas last week, and apparently it was part of a tour. And on that tour, Cassius Ohno, who everybody knows as Chris Hero, was wrestling Chad Lale every night. And Cassius Ohno was
known as Gunner.
Sorry to
interrupt. Formerly known as Gunner in TNA.
Okay, and Ono was going over every night on the tour. When they were in Dallas, they were wrestling again. The plan was for Ono to go over again, but for some reason, the crowd in Dallas was rooting for Chad Lale, and so they called an audible, and Lale went over.
Good idea.
And I thought that I saw that, and I thought to myself, everybody gets on WWE for not listening to their audience, and they're not turning Elias babyface and all this kind of stuff. At least we know that in some small way, even though it was a very minor thing, live event in Dallas, whatever, at least in some small way they were listening to their fans that night.
And harmless. It did nothing but positive. I mean, it built a little goodwill. It did something good for the fans, and somebody that the crowd is just, the crowd is important to them.
Now, speaking of NXT, lately they've been using some of their main roster talent that aren't really being used to show up at NXT and pop a rating. What the hell was that?
Now, what was it?
What was that? Did you guys hear that?
Motorcycle drove by.
Okay.
And I thought about doing the show on my porch one day this summer.
It sounded like you just hit a piano note.
Yeah.
That's what it said. Like you went, dumb.
Or like a truck horn.
Yeah, something like that. So the Revival did an appearance at an NXT live event. Tyler Breeze did one. Sasha Banks said that she wants to do one. So this is what they're doing to help pop attendance at some of the NXT shows. They're bringing main roster guys that they're not really using and putting them back in NXT.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
For more, like Dana Brooke should probably be back in NXT tomorrow.
It's true. Authors of Pain. They're doing nothing.
I get the feeling they're waiting on something worthy for them because they're all like, you look at them and you can't just have them in a middling feud where they're doing 50-50 in the match. That's just not. It just can't work for me.
I think
but
that
at the same time, I'm like, why did you debut them?
Because I think it was post-Mania and they felt like they needed to.
Yeah.
And then once they did, because post-Mania, it's the biggest Raw of the year.
Of course.
And so they did it, and then they split them from Paul Ellering to get that done. But then once that was done, now they're like, okay, well, let's see. We have to have Elias and Bobby Roode wrestle for the 8th time in a row on television, so we're going to have to put you guys off to the side till next week, I guess,
Yeah, several weeks, and I mean, then Usos and the Club, Carl Anderson and Gallows just popped up last night and had a top contender match. And I'm like, all right, nice to see you all on TV.
Right, yeah. Let me ask you this question. Do you think that the whole John Cena, Nikki Bella, breakup...
Work.
Yes, right? Cena's on the Today Show. He's grown a vagina. He's professing his love for Nikki Bella in an over-the-top manner. Nikki Bella's talking like she's all of a sudden the decision-maker in the whole thing. Led to the premiere of Total Bellas this season. That's what tells me it's very convenient timing. That led to the premiere of Total Bellas this season. And even though they had that big breakup on the show, and even though they had John Cena on mainstream television talking about it, it did a pretty abysmal rating.
Flat on its face.
Do you think that Total Bellas, it's run its course?
Yeah. I do. Especially if they can't get a proper rating for this.
Right.
Because I had a lot of people who have no interest in wrestling asking me about the relationship status of one Nikki Bella and one John Cena. Like all the time I'm fielding questions about that. You also have Daniel Bryan teasing his comeback, so I mean that can't garner any interest for that either. Yeah, I think it's run its course, but I mean, who knows? Maybe E is thrilled with that number for all we know. Apparently they're happy with crappy numbers all the time. So
I mean, it's over 100,000 viewers less than the premiere of the last season. I don't know.
Yeah, that can't be positive.
No, it can't be. Last but not least,
how do you think Miz's show will do this summer?
I mean, I guess it's on E as well.
I mean, it can't be any worse than Crisley, right?
Okay, you always talk about this. I've never seen this show. I don't know what this show is. Is it on E as well?
No, it's on USA. It's often used as a lead-in or a follow-up to Raw.
Okay.
It's so bad that I make sure that while I do my podcast, I change the channel to absolutely anything
So
else.
what is it about? So it's a reality show?
It's a terrible reality show, yeah.
What's it about?
I wish I could explain it.
It's that bad? You can't explain it?
It's real bad, man. It's
Really?
real bad, yeah.
Huh. Another bullshit scripted reality show?
Oh, it's so terrible.
Oh, it's one of those. All right.
Yeah.
I guess last but not least on my list this week, did you hear about Eric Bischoff's reply to Mikey Whipwreck?
I saw Mikey Whipwreck's tweet, but I didn't see Eric's.
So I have.
He was begging for something though. I saw Mikey's.
So I have personal experience with Mikey Whipwreck. I booked him on some shows back in the day. He was awesome to me. He did whatever I wanted him to do. He even wrestled like twice a night for 2 or 3 nights in a row for me because we were taping it. Yeah. And he was really good. So Whipwreck posted on Twitter on May 18th. And what I find weird about this whole thing is that he claims that he was actually sitting with Bischoff having drinks, and yet he's tweeting about Bischoff.
Yeah, red flag.
It's odd. But he said, having a few beverages with Eric Bischoff, maybe I should ask him why my WCW career went nowhere. Bischoff's reply, there's a mirror in the men's room. Start there and get back to me with any questions.
Owned.
Yeah. Mic drop on that one, man.
All due respect to Mikey Whipwreck. I mean, he was very, very, very fortunate to get a WCW deal.
Yes, he was.
Very fortunate. And it wasn't ever going to work out for him there. Under any circumstances, was it going to work out for him there? And that's not a condemnation of his talent level or his potential or anything. It just was never going to work out for him there. And, I mean, he beat Steve Austin in ECW. That doesn't mean you're supposed to be the next big thing in WCW.
Agreed. I mean, he looked like a fan, and that's not disparaging.
That was
fans.
the gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, I know. But
he showed up at the Janela Spring Break, and the man was massively overweight.
Oh, was he?
He looked good in the ring.
Yeah.
He could still go.
He was always good, yeah.
He could actually still go, and I tweeted about that, and he actually tweeted me back and started to follow me, but...
Did I tell you my story about him and the ring that we rented for a show?
No.
So Mikey Whipwreck comes over to me. We rented a ring from like this third-party guy. And Mikey Whipwreck comes over to me. He goes, have you been in the ring? And I said, no, I haven't seen it. He said, it smells like shit. And I said, well, what can I do about it now? And he's like, do you have like some Lysol or something? And I was like, I don't know. And I looked at one of the guys. I was like, hey, we have any Lysol in this building? They went to one of the bathrooms in the building.
Oh,
they got a can of Lysol. They gave it to Mikey Whipwreck. He went in the ring, sprayed the whole ring down with Lysol.
It's the little things that matter. Guys, you all can hear more stories like that in Jimmy's book that is available on FightfulSelect.com for our $10 subscribers. Lots of fun stuff in that. Of course, we got tons of podcasts, extras.
Okay, you say lots of fun stuff in that. Have you actually read it yet?
No, not yet.
So how do you know there's lots of fun stuff in it?
Because I'm shilling a fucking product, Jimmy.
But you're
so
doing
that's how
it.
I know.
You're doing it under fraudulent circumstances.
No, I'm not.
You haven't actually read the book you're promoting.
Well, if you give me time off, pay for my hotel and my rental cars, maybe I'd have the time.
You know what? I'm going to assign you homework for this week, Sean.
You assigned me Star Wars one time.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it.
And?
I didn't like it, and I surmised that it was because, despite the fact that I had never watched that movie, I knew who all the characters were and what they did, and a lot of that was an introduction, so it was a lot of wasted time for me.
So it was episode 4 that you watched? The very first one?
Yeah, the first one that they produced was the first one I watched. I don't know what episode any on.
Okay. It's a classic movie. How can you not like it, Sean?
Alex Andresen says that he loves his Fightful mug, by the way.
Oh, yeah? I haven't got one yet. That's nice.
Well, there's a woman in the same room as you. She goes by the handle @IRLTweener on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
Ask her why you don't have one.
Yeah, why don't I have a mug that I paid for?
You want to pay for the shipping to Canada?
I mean, what is it, $3 to ship it from Canada?
No.
Oh, no. To South Carolina, it was like 7 or 8.
Oh, okay. So across the border, we're probably looking at 10, 12-ish, probably.
Yeah.
And the mug itself probably costs about $10.
Oh, no.
Probably less than that.
I did really well on that.
Oh.
I don't want to say how much because I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Get rid of Sean. We're profitable if we get rid of Sean's salary.
I mean, I could show you the spreadsheet, Sean.
I had somebody... I don't care about what you have spreading. Again, cut it with the sexual harassment for one. But we had somebody on Fightful Select that was like, you all should do a show where you break down the budget. And I said, for my sake, let's not.
Yeah.
How about no?
Let's put it like this. So the spreadsheet has like green for positive, red for negative, right? And when you look at the daily, green, then payday, red. That's basically what's been happening.
Here's a simple idea that I use to make myself feel better. I blame Melissa. And And it works out a lot better when I just do that.
There you go. Whatever makes you feel better, man.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
What else you got going on this week, Jimmy?
I'm trying to get back into the general scheme of things. You know, I'm still moving. I got my kid's first birthday in about a week and a half. Going to do a party at the house for that. Yeah.
It has been. My God, it's hard to believe it's been that long.
Yeah, because you were posting bullshit photos saying you're in Toronto in the delivery room of a woman that wasn't my wife.
No, I didn't post bullshit videos. I was there.
The woman in the photo was not my wife, Sean.
Well, you can't prove that. But I physically ran. I brought her a DVD, season 1 of Riverdale.
Yeah.
And I watched it. You know, I was there. I was emotionally supportive while you were nowhere to be found. I was making the most of the money that you pay me.
You know that a couple of nights ago, Sean, we didn't have the cable ready in our house yet, but we did have internet, and I had to sit through the season finale of Riverdale.
I feel bad for you because I was nowhere near my home while that was being broadcast.
Now, I'm not going to I don't want to disrespect people that watch that show, but there was a supposedly dramatic scene where they're yelling at each other, calling each other Archie and Jughead.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to get into that shit, Sean?
You're telling me.
It's
You're telling
absurd.
Me, man. Cody
it's
Rhodes
so
is a fan of the show.
Get out of here.
I saw it on Twitter. He says he's a fan of the show.
I always knew he was the least talented Rhodes brother.
Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah, I am not. Not
Cody, you're not your dad, all right? There you go. Keep watching Riverdale.
That's rude. Follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. Follow him at Jimmy Van 74. Follow us at Fightful Online. We've got like 7 Twitter handles. Go to all of them. FightfulWrestling.com. I have some news on the NXT taping schedule. I have some news on the WWE schedule. The Fightful Wrestling Weekly that drops on Fridays has about 1,000 words worth of exclusives. You can get that early if you subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. And, of course, subscribe to our friends at Pro Wrestling Unlimited.
You know that Archie was accused of murder? Archie was accused of murder. And there was a scene where the policeman went to the door and said very seriously, "Archie Andrews?" And again, I was watching it going, you just said Archie Andrews. And the actor very clearly has like dark hair that they're trying to dye red and it didn't quite take. You know what I'm talking about? You know when you see that where someone's got dark hair and they try to dye it red and it doesn't quite work out? That's what the actor has with black eyebrows.
Well, when I was little, Archie was for geezers.
Oh, yeah?
The comic strip and the comic and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it's continued on all this time, right?
Yeah, evidently.
Yeah, I think so.
I
never understood the side of his head. He had like dots in his hair on the side of his head.
Yeah.
And I never understood what that was supposed to be about.
I don't want to understand it. Guys, Stupid People Extended, FightfulSelect.com. Go check it out. We're out.